Okay, so we're going to talk about user attribute today in Redshift. So before we understand how the script work, we need to talk about color variation. Okay, so here in the example, I have a picture of a brick. Now, in real life, the brick contain a different color. So one of the color is a bit lighter, and the other color is a bit darker, and the other color is somewhere in between. Okay, and another example that I have a picture of orange. So if you look at this orange, uh, this one is slightly yellow, and that one is slightly towards the yellow color. Okay, and this is another example. So this is a picture of a leaf, and if you look at it, the leaf is slightly different from one to another, even though they're the same type. Okay, so that's what makes the picture or makes the scene looks more believable. Because if you have like rows of objects or bricks or apple or whatever, and they all have the same color, right? You make the scene like less believable. Okay, that's why like we need to have some color variation so that the scene looks kind of real. Okay, so that's when the user attribute comes into play. Okay, now if the scenes are pretty simple and you only have like 5 or 6 apple in the scene, maybe you can just assign the texture manually, right? Because that's pretty easy to do. But let's say like you have rows of apple, rows of orange, and or maybe 50 or 100. It's very time consuming to assign each texture one by one, right? So that's when the automatic process or this add user attribute comes into play, and this function will actually assign a random value to this orange, and then that value will determine which texture to use. Okay, now I already prepare some texture that I'm going to use for the scene. So in this scene, I'm going to make some orange, and I want to apply some color variation for the orange. Okay, so this is my first texture. This is my second texture for the orange, the third, and the fourth. Okay, now, so before we jump in and create all these in Maya, we're going to see or we're going to understand how the overall process work. Okay, so I'm gonna snap. Okay, so let's assume that I have my orange ready in the scene. So I have like 50 orange, and I'm going to let the script assign the number randomly and automatically, right? So what the script does is that it will assign a number for this orange. So maybe this orange will be having a number 1, this will be having number 1, and maybe 4, and 1 again, and like 4, 3, 3, 2, 1, and 1. Okay, so later Maya will look at this number in the orange, and they will look at like which texture to use. So if the number 1, they will use that texture, right? Then they'll move on to the next orange, and they will look at the number again, right? And if the number is 1, then they're going to use this texture again, right? And again, they will look at the number, like this time the number is 4, so they're going to use this texture instead, right? And so on, they're going to look at the number again, this is 1 again, so they're going to use this texture again, right? And this time it's number 4, so they will look at this texture and apply that. Now this one is number 3, so they will look at this texture and they will apply that. And for the next one, and this one is 2, so they're going to apply this. And this process will keep going until the end of the orange. Okay, so everything is automatic. Now, going back to Maya, so let's create the orange first. right? So I'm going to use my duplicate special to create the orange. Okay, so I want to create like 50 copies, and I'm going to move the orange 1.5 unit in between. Okay, and change this to instance. Okay, now that I have this orange already, I'm going to run the script. Okay, so before you run the script, you have to copy this add user attribute and this one to delete in this folder, right? So and the C user, your username, your document, Maya script, and then you put these two script inside there. Okay, now this is what the script will run. Okay, so you call add user attributes, right? And you can type whatever. Now, if you want to put some more meaningful name, okay, things like my ID, or you can type anything, or you can like that, right? Anything that is like meaningful. Okay. Now, the next one is 0. So this column represent an option. Okay. So inside the script there is this option. So 0 represent integer, 1 represent scalar, 2 represent vector, right, and 3 represent color. Now all these have a different data type inside. Now if you choose 0, right, it will return things like 1, 15, right, all the whole number, okay, like that. Okay, this integer. Now if you choose number 1, right, it will return things like this value, right? So it's a decimal. That's what scalar mean. Now, whereas a vector, they will return things like this as a value, right? But right now we're not using vector. Whereas color usually is RGB, so they will return things like this, yeah, as a one number, as a one data type. Okay, so then there is another one. Now, in this case, we're only interested to apply integer. Okay, so let's put this to 0, whereas these two number at the back represent the range. So if I change this to 0 to 100, okay, that means the script will randomize a value between 1 to 100. It may return things like this, 54, 60, 1, or like that. Okay. Now, but since you only have 4 texture happening in the scene, remember these 4 different color, we only need like number 4 as a value, right? So it's 0 to 4. Okay. So let's type the script in Maya. So select all the orange, add user, my ID 0, 0, and 4. Okay. So the script has been applied, and once we look at it, right, we go to here, and you see all the orange have some value there. So this first orange have number 2, this one 4, this one 1, 2, 1, and so on and so on. Right? That means like the script has successfully been applied to the scene.